Welcome to Rockingham Speedway in Corby for another round of the Armed Forces Race Challenge. This is a very special race. It's just for the British Army. The British Army Motorsport Association has organised this. We've got a nice grid of production vehicles, but I've got to chat to Will Ashmore. You've had a decent weekend already here at Rockingham. This race is just for the British Army, which puts you on pole position. Talk us through it. Tell us about what it's all about and why you're here.
Yeah, so this is our first sort of run out for the Army race, if you like. We come picked off the back of the Armed Forces Race Challenge, and it's just because we're basically doing this. It's a good opportunity for us to get into motorsport for starters. But this itself is, the Army team is growing so fast that we're starting to recognise the need to break away and our own grids. So this is a bit of a teaser for that. Hopefully we can push that next year, fully supported by Tang, who will be providing the tyres obviously for that. And yeah, hopefully it's going to keep growing and it will become a standalone series.
And it's not restricted in terms of what you can do to the cars and the modifications.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're again at the back of the AFRC Armed Forces Race Challenge. We're still running the same classes, so three classes, Class A, B and C, and they're all power to weight classes.
About to go out racing. We're all lined up. Who's going to win?
So Matty's got a real powerhouse of a car. He's been nipping at the back of the pole all weekend, so he's going to be pressing me. But hopefully, between me and Matty, hopefully I can get a win. I've had 2 second place finishes, so it's going to be nice to finish up the weekend.
Yours is going to be better through the twisty section in the middle, but that's going to be something else on that straight.
Yeah, it's an absolute freight train on the straights. M3 lightweight car versus a nippy car in the corners. Rockingham's really harsh on your tyres though, so we're all kind of at the end of our tyre life for this weekend, so we'll see how that pans out.
Good luck.
Yeah, thanks man.
With that, I'll hand you up to our race commentator, Kieran.
Thank you, Anthony. Cars lining up on the grid then, and the big news, we have lost Ed Fuller, who was due to start on pole position, so it's Rob Taylor on his own on row 1, ahead of Wilmore and Mark White, then Chris Dancer and Tom Sykes, Simon Skirton and John Mitchell on row 4, Ben Gray and Darren Berris at the back. So we don't have the Caterham 7, we do have Darren Berris' Westfield though, and that had some issues in qualifying, so it should be able to move forward from its starting position, but we are about ready to go racing with the BMW contractor Robert Taylor on the front row of the grid, all on his own. Headlights go on, they go out now, and we are away and racing for 20 minutes here at Rockingham. It's a bad start from pole position by the BMW. Of the Civics from the second row of the grid, Will Ashmore and Mark White have been able to the way through. And look at that start from Darren Berris. Goes from the back of the grid to lead before they even get out of turn 1. Astonishing stuff. So he leads the way. Ashmore in second place, but just quite back around the outside, under braking, can't quite. Then we've got Rob Taylor back into third place now, so he's brought back up the inside of Mark White in the EP3 Civic Type up. And then those four got a bit of a break now over the Mini that's next in line, Simon Skirts, and then the sideways Mark 1 Escort. Well, it was a bit too sideways though, over the grass comes Chris Dancer. He was dancing that the tail end of that Mark 1 Ford Escort around to the right hander at the end, but he did a good job of hanging to it actually. And Mark 1 Escort often is seen sideways, more famous as a rally car than a racer perhaps. Mark 1 Escort being driven very hard. The top four making a bit of a break here in the early stages. Then the W there of Robert Taylor, one of 2 BMWs that we've got on the grid. We've also got Thomas Sykes, his 330 BMW, running a bit further down the order. These top four, look at the gap they've pulled out over the rest of the field. Darren Berris in the invitational class, but other than that, these are all cars running Class A and B, and you've got Mark White there in the Honda trying to get up the inside of Robert Taylor in the Class A. BMW, Will Ashmore also in Class B, so the 2 Civics in the same class, but BMW is not, and it's in theory, Class A, higher power to weight ratio. But you need to really get off the line, particularly whilst he's got some work to do now to try and get himself back up near the front. So across they come then, at the end of lap number 1, Darren Berris leads the way, second place is Will Ashmore, third place is Robert Taylor, and fourth is Mark White, and they're a country mile ahead of everybody else as they turn their way through the first corner. along the straight towards the Dean pin. Really difficult part of the circuit. Easy down here to mission break point. There's really an obvious making reference there because it's such a wide expanse of space. Down in towards the end would they go, using that sausage on the inside. So yes, these are all cars then that were in the Armed Forces Race Challenge, part of the 750 Motor Club race weekends, and now are on their own British Army element. Of course, the Armed Forces Challenge is a championship that pits different members and different groups of the Armed Forces together, so Marines, RAF, Army themselves, all together, but this is just for the British Army, this Forces Racing Challenge, the BAMA race. And hopefully they'll start getting bigger grids as we get towards the end of this year and the start of next year. Darren Berris classed the field in this one. As I said, issues in qualifying, he's been able to put them behind him pretty rapidly from the back of the grid to lead. Coming out of the corner of the first lap, but it's wide start finish straight. He can do that. So the field work their way back down through the Brook chicane. And they can see the BMW compact of Robert Taylor. It's not quite really compact, a little bit more aero on the car. The big front splitter, just adding to the force and grip levels of the car. And you can see he's just starting to get himself into a bit of a rhythm now. He's pulling away from Mark White in the second of those Honda Civic. Ford, though, with this big old gap over, was Simon Skirton in fifth, because that's still going to be the gap as they come out of sorry, is that still with the order as they come out to the final chicane? Yes, it is. There is Skirton. Then you've got Chris Dancer in the Mark 1 Escort, and then Sykes in the BMW 330, who started better than that, has dropped back a bit early on, trying to close it on the Mark 1 Escort. Both of these cars rear-wheel drive, but about 40 years or so between them, age-wise. Not that much between them on the track there, only a few car lengths as they drop down into Dean Hairpin once again. See here from the onboard just has to be that little clunk is as they drop down off looking onto the flat of the infield. But that 30 is a production spec frequency, so apart from the safety enhancements that have to be made to allow the car to race on the circuit, it's a completely stacked car, so it is perhaps understandable why the BMW is just struggling a little bit here on such a tight technical circuit without race suspension and race brakes. It's just not quite got the ability of some of the other cars out there that are a bit more ready. Mark 1 Escort, you can see, has had fair qualifications. That rear wing is not a standard part, needless to say. But always good to see a Mark 1 Escort on the circuit. We don't get to see them all that often, so to have one here at Rugby for this British Armed Forces race. If anything, I reckon that Chris Dan's catching Simon Skirton slightly in the Cooper S. Great variety out there. Sleek cars, hatchbacks, sports cars, as I said, a mix of production and race cars as well. Run what you've run, really, and whatever car's got, there'll be a class for you. Someone to play with. Most of these cars have had all the systems on screen at the moment. I think I'm right in saying yes, Class C. So, yes, of course, Class C, the Class C, the Mini in front of Simon Skirton is at the lead Class C cars. These are the top three cars in Class C at the moment. Back out across the start finish line in towards the top again, flat out through the banking here at Rockingham, a really iconic piece of road. Certainty of the future of this place. Be looking to try and make the most of the opportunity to drive here. It's never been a bad circuit to drive. I've always enjoyed it. Oh, got a bit wayward there through the hairpin from Chris Dancer, but he just about gets it back on track. Yes, it was. It's a circuit that is technically demanding, so it really works the cars quite hard, works the drivers as well, mentally and physically, and produce lots of good racing when you get closer to do so. Lots of places where you can overtake around here. It's always been a popular circuit with the drivers, but it would be a shame to see it, that's for sure. Down through the Kirby chicane from these two, Chris Dancer keeping the BMW of Thomas Sykes at lead for the time being. Not making that much headway towards the race leader, it must be said. Back on board with Chris in the escort towards the left-hand race. As you can see there, the safety modifications made to the car, the roll cage that has been fitted around the outside of the cockpit. Stop pushing the roll on the side impact, really stop the bodywork intruding into the cockpit itself. With those sort of safety modifications, you can see the car like really and turn it into a legal racing car. And that's one of the joys of this sort of race, where you can bring any car that takes your fancy and you'll be able to race pretty much. Onto the banking again, closing in on the skirt a bit more now, I'd say, actually. Against the pivot wall, and he's sort of bringing sights with him, but no one's really close at the moment to have a legitimate go at getting through. Turn 1 goes the Mini then of Simon Skirt, Cooper S, leading in Class C, but not quite at the pace of the Class A and B cars go with them at the front of the field. Around the Dean hairpin in towards the right-hander again with these two tricky 90-degree right-handers. It's one quite flat, a bit off camber if anything, and then you go up over a crest through Chapman Curve, and that is even trickier because this is definitely off camber. It's over a black crest. The road falls away from you as you go through it, and it just keeps on going and going and going, and then you've got to complicate exit speed, so it's back over onto the right-hand side road into towards the curve chicane, and then we're into pivot path, excuse me, then this is going to be double apex left-hander, missed the first apex, second apex. Trying to run onto the crash though. I think that was Danson that just drifted a bit wide. Then it's into Gracelands. Towards the end of the lap. Here's his leader, Darren Berris. In the Westfield V8, in Westfield. Very good through the corners. Not pushing a straight line either, it has to be said. Darren up the front runner in the Armed Forces Challenge. Going to be the case again here in this British Wheat race. His way down towards the infield section. You can see the increased corner speed of this car. In fact, he's not a million miles away from putting a lap on John Mitchell already in the little Renault Clio 182. You can see him there running out nice and wide, letting him go. Indicators are on, very gentlemanly stuff there from John. And so through goes Darren Berris. Back towards the left-hander at Gracelands again. That tricky one again over a crest. A surprising amount of undulation here at Rock. In particular made all the more tricky by then into the hot zone at Tarzan, another one of the good overtaking opportunities on the side. Car drift out wide but not wide, over that white line on the exit, then down the school straight, back racing school behind the paddock, and then this tricky Brook chicane, which is a very fiddly and awkward way to end the lap, but it's easy to make a mistake there and then leave yourself vulnerable to attack through the rest of the pit straight. You get a good exit from there. Of course, Darren Berris doesn't have to worry too much. He's about 12 seconds already up from the nearest rivals. There is his nearest rival. That's the second place man Will Lasport. It's the Honda Civic VTI. We've passed the Clio 182. Way back through the first corner, and then the gap back to Robert Taylor and Mark White further back, but again pulled out about 6 or 7 seconds now over Robert Taylor in third position. Towards Yenwood. Stickers on the side of the car. Understandably, of course, it's great to have this, for a great cause. 750 Motor Club really getting behind the British Armed Forces Racing Association, and have been now for several seasons. To see that the various groups within the Armed Forces Challenge now starting to think what they could do themselves, or whether they could maybe have their own standalone races. And with 4 of them out there, and there's plenty of interest in the series. And this could take off. There though for Ashmore's car, that's a little concerning. I'm hoping it's tighter smoke. It's possible that it was. Concerning through Tarzan he goes. No, there's definitely more than tyre smoke. I think it's going to be off the rear tyres, and this is a front wheel drive one on the Civic, so to be smoking the rear tyre. Again through Brook, where it's just on a heavy load, and it could be, you can see the rear end of this car is modified, the rear bodywork's modified. It just means that the tyres are rubbing on the bodywork, which means there's kind of margin between the top edge of the tyre and the bottom edge of the wheel arches, possibly, but that's a bit of a concern for the team watching the pit lane. There's Robert Taylor, BMW Compact. More popular as well, not just within their lake series, but we're seeing some modified things like this cropping up all over the place. We're on board with you here, Robert, as we drop down in towards the Dean Head. Hit the brakes down here, it's probably the second imagine through here for BMW. And then back towards the end when he goes, holding the steer all the way up actually, into the right-hander. Uses the curb. Too much of it though, out over the curve. He's able to get not too much, otherwise you get told off for exceeding the track limit through Yetwood. It's a tricky one, just goes a little bit longer than you're expecting it to. A bit of a tail slide there from him, because he flicks now into Piff Path through the left to the right, avoid the barriers, and then onto the brakes into Kirby. Missed the first apex, turn in late, get the second apex, yep, just about the second apex, and then accelerate uphill. If you don't get that right though, the fact that you're accelerating uphill quite steeply, pound any sort of mistake that you make there. This battle that we were talking about maybe started a couple of ways before has now finally joined, and so Chris Dance has caught Simon's skirt, and this is for 5th. It's also for the win in Class C, which well and truly left Ben Grundy. In fact, Tom Sykes, I believe, has, yeah, Sykes, the BMW we're hearing, has pulled off, so unfortunately Thomas Sykes, with mechanical issues of some sort, that's taken him out of the race. He is off for retirement from the race, not counting the non-stop Fred Fuller. So Chris Dance now starts to apply the pressure to the Simon Skirton as it makes its way up the out of Chapman into Yetwood, into Chapman, he's going to say, and then back down towards Piff Path. Three-wheel drive Ford Escort Mark 1 versus wheel drive hot hatch Mini Cooper S. Your money on here, I don't know which way to go really. This is a circuit that does suit wheel drive cars quite well though. These tight corners, the abrasive surface as well, means that they just use their tyres a little more lightly than front-wheel drive cars do. Racing's then wide there for Dance, but then it's wide as well for Skirton in the Mini. A bit sideways, Hartwell's opposite lot there as he tries to gather it all together. Now into Tarzan, where the Escort is going to use his rear-wheel drive traction on the exit corner, trying to get himself alongside down towards the Brook chicane, but there's just nothing there. The Mini has just enough straight line speed, more modern car of course, and it's just have to pull it back ahead again and run down towards the final corner. And the Escort, with its superior handling, you wouldn't think that of a car that's 40 years the Mini's here, but it has that superior handling. It's just able to carry that bit more mid-corner speed the straight. Can't really go anywhere with it. With a slipstream, the Escort's just about keeping up with the Mini. That's as good as it gets. It's not really able to close in and mount a significant challenge. So out towards the hairpin to go once again, getting into the final stage of this now, and the Escort closer now than it was on the go though, so if it can start building up challenge over the next couple of corners, be a move made somewhere halfway around this lap. If it's going to do it, it will have to be somewhere on the infield. It's not the easiest part of the circuit to overtake there. Oh, that will help those skirts out wide as Chris Dance sees the chance, sends blood in the water. There'll be dirt on the Mini's tyres now as well for a couple of corners. Tyres, when they get hot and sticky, they pick up debris and dust and dirt that little bit more easily, and that is detrimental to the grip levels. Out of the curb, up the hill towards Gracelands. Mini ahead of Ford. It looks as though that might not be the way it stays, because the Ford, well, I said that, Chris Dance is not quite as close now through Gracelands as it goes. The gap's just continuing really to ebb and flow. It's not quite way of Chris Dancer for the time being. Tarzan again, he'll try and use that low down rear end traction coming out of the corner. You can see he closes in through the corner, the natural concertina effect. And then he keeps through the race leader Darren Barris, who makes them look like they're going absolutely nowhere. The difference in the classics, of course, that is an invitational class. It doesn't actually fit into any one of these pre-designated classes as far as the stations are concerned, but it's at the discretion of the clerk, of course. He's been allowed to race numbers, variety out back as well. Now, Chris Dancer might be a bit closer this time, going across the start-finish line, possibly about to build up a bit of an attack. As Darren goes through turn 1 once more, up towards Dean Hairpin again. Turn 1, maybe 2 more laps. We'll have to wait whether we get a last lap board or a checkered flag at the end of this one, but Darren Chris in Westfield V8. Never heading in this one, winning margin, getting on for 20 seconds, I think, between himself and Will Ashmore in second place, who is still second, I can tell you. Bob Taylor and Mark White in fourth position, so that really changes the drop of the green flag. Through Piff Path and Kirby going our race leader, and soon, surely, the race winner. Drops down gears, taking it nice and easy now through Kirby. Realises just Darren, there's not really any point in taking too many risks here. He has had quite a bit of track time weekend already, of course, with the Armed Forces Challenge as well. Darren, familiar with the circuit well, knows where it goes, knows what the best way of tackling it is, and he's demonstrated that beautifully here in this AMA race. And he looks as though he's going to come home a winner. Out of the top hairpin, back up towards the chicane again. And Darren Barris turns into the left, into the right, avoid those big sausage curbs, and then up towards the start-finish line where I think he might be about to see a checkered flag. Darren Barris comes down to the final corner. He's got the Renault Clio in front of him now. I think they're going to get one more lap out of this. Yes, one more lap. So just snuck in before the time ran out. And Barris does another lap. He puts another lap therefore on John Mitchell in the Renault Clio 182. He gets to enjoy the Ryan International Super Sports Car Long Course one more occasion. This is the longest configuration of the Rockingham Speedway, incorporating the oval section and then this tight technical infield course. Set through popular with the drivers down the years, popular with spectators, as you can see most of the circuit from a particular seat that takes your fancy in the grandstand. It's great quality. A lot of money to the town of Corby over the years, where it's based. Darren Barris will be very happy with his visit down to the Midlands, I think, the Midlands this time around, because he is surely going to come home a winner now. I hope I'm cursing him. He's been able to stroke it home over these last laps. Has now only got a couple of corners to go before he sees the checkered flag, a sight that he's been familiar with in the past in the Armed Forces Race Challenge. And now he's going to do it again here. Down towards the Brook chicane he comes for the final time. Turns it in, hard on the brakes. Then just feed the power through as gently as you can through the final couple of corners, up onto the banking for the final time, and Darren Barris is going to win the BAMA Armed Forces Challenge race here at Rockingham. Checkered flag. Darren Barris, fantastic win for him, and it's by a long, long way as well. Will Ashmore nowhere in sight at the flag. We reckon this is going to work to about an 18-second deficit. The next car is Ashmore, that's the lapped John Mitchell. Goes Will Ashmore, and then it is going to be the two lapped there, Simon Skirton and Chris Downs through me for a second. They are a lap down, fighting for position. And it will be Simon Skirton's winner that takes the C honours. Robert Taylor comes home in the positions as well. Information of the result then: Darren Barris by 18 seconds over Will Ashmore, but Taylor, Mark White, Simon Skirton, Chris Dancer, Ben Gundry, and John Mitchell, the last of the finishers. Unfortunately, we lost Thomas Sykes. Fuller was a non-starter.
Oh, well, I spoke to you before the race. You said it was going to be close. It didn't work out that way. But congratulations on the win anyway.
Yeah, thanks very much. It was interesting because I was hoping to have a good battle with Matty. Didn't quite work out, and then you had the dark horse, Darren, coming from the rear, just bluffed past everyone from the back up to the straight. But he's invitational cast, so he won't pick up. We're running points for this round, but any trophies at least. It was a good race. It was good. I was out on my own for quite a while, but good to get through some of the traffic. And hopefully, as I said at the start, this series that we start pushing can grow.
Yeah. Quite a rapid little civic you got there.
Yeah, it's done me well. I've had 2 years of woes with that car, so it's been a lot of development and a lot of money to get it to where it is now. But yeah, it goes, but there's always room for improvement.
Well, you've had a fantastic weekend. Go and enjoy it. Well done.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Well, Matt, second place. It's not a bad finish.
Yeah, I'm chuffed to muck, to be completely honest. I've literally just built that car. I built it January, March, April in the evenings, having had an accident at the Burkitt last year. So I'm just happy that the car's coming together now and it's working. It's good. I just need to get to grips with it.
Yeah, for the spectators' point, it's fantastic to watch. But for now, go and enjoy it. Well done.
Super. Thanks so much. Yeah.
Welcome to Rockingham Speedway here in Corby. Well, we're looking at the Armed Forces Race Challenge. In this programme, we're going to be covering the action-packed races. The grid comprises of a huge variety of different production vehicles, so we're going to take to a very fast oval track combined with a tight and twisty infield section. It's going to be exciting, so I'll hand you up to our race commentator, Andy McEwen, for race one.
Thanks, Anthony. Cars lining up on the grid ahead of our first 18-minute plus one lap race, and it is Mark Inman in the Vauxhall VX220 on pole, with Will Ashmore's Honda Civic alongside. Then it's Robert Taylor and Ian Fletcher ahead of Ed Fuller and Mark White, with Ed McKean and Darren Howe rounding out the top 8. Then it's Chris Slater and Ben Grundy, Paul Waterhouse and Simon Frowen, podium finishes from earlier in the year, ahead of Tom Sykes and Simon Skirton. Then it's Daniel Smith, Chris Dancer, John Mitchell and Simon Barlow at the back. So the Vauxhall VX220, the red car off Mark Inman on pole position, double winner from Silverstone, Will Ashmore on the inside of row number 1 as we launch off the line, and what a start it was from the Hornet, the Fletcher Hornet of Ian Fletcher, who goes into second place and then challenges Mark Inman for the race lead as they charge through turn 1 for the first time of asking. Everyone away from the line cleanly though, which is good to see. Simon Frowen there in the Fiesta working his way through in car number 33, but here is the lead battle. It's Inman that leads the way, Fletcher's second, Ashmore coming back at them round the outside, but it will be the VX220. Mark Inman looking for his first win of the year, who leads them through the first corner. Mark raced with us at Alton Park, missed Silverstone, the second race meeting of the year, but is here at Rockingham and looking to try and get onto the top step of the podium for the first time. Everyone else skating through. There's the Mark 1 Escort of Chris Dancer. Great variety of cars out there in a championship that really does race for a good cause. On board with Will Ashmore, looking up the inside of Fletcher for second place here as we dive down into Kirby. Great mix of sports cars, saloon cars, hatchbacks, front wheel drive, rear wheel drive, front engine, mid engined. Everything you can think of, every possible configuration you can think of, more or less, is out there on the track, and it is a three-way fight for the race lead as they come through Gracelands for the first time, with Mark Inman just about hanging on for Ian Fletcher in second, sideways there in fourth position as the here comes the move for Fletcher. Couldn't quite do it in towards the Tarzan hairpin, forces Inman in a bit deep, and then he too follows him in a little bit deep. That was Mark White, by the way, who I think was getting sideways in fourth place, the winner from Alton Park first time out, second race of the day at Alton Park he won. Look how close it is at the head of the field. with no one really getting away from each other, but now we're about to go out into the banking for the first time, and this is where we start to see which cars have the straight line speed advantage. And that Fletcher of the Fletcher Hornet, to be in Fletcher, does look pretty rapid, doesn't it? Look at that, he's gapping the Civic behind, but there's not that much to choose actually between the lead contenders. 5th position there, you can see the BMW of Robert Taylor, which started 3rd. Robert Taylor is also looking for his first podium of the season so far. I think it might be Robert's first appearance with the Armed Forces Race Challenge in 2018. Even though seems to have fended off Fletcher for the time being, he's falling back into the clutches of Will Ashmore. As I said, double winner last time out at Silverstone, Ashmore, and therefore puts himself into a very competitive championship position. He's up there with the likes of Mark White, Chris Slater, Darren Howell fighting for the championship lead as we go into the second half of the season. It's only an 8-race season in the Armed Forces Race Challenge, and Will Ashmore dives to the inside of Fletcher down towards Kirby. He tried this on the opening lap. Has he made it stick on lap number 2? Fletcher has the traction though from the rear-wheel drive kit car, and he's able to pull back in front. Brilliant stuff that though between the two of them. And the more they battle, the further away the race leader may be able to pull. That is Mark Inman in the VX220. But yes, this is an 8-race championship, 4 race meetings, 2 races at each meeting. And this is the 3rd of those race meetings. So we're into the second half of the season now. Championship points starting to become more significant. Here comes, who's that starting to make some progress then? That's Ed Fuller, starting 5th on the grid in the Caterham 7. Slipped down a bit off the line, which is strange. Caterham's usually very good off the line. He's had to fight his way back after a bit of a sluggish start. Leaders back across the start-finish line, and Inman now definitely getting away. The battling is going on behind him, and the more that they all trip over each other, particularly around such a tight technical circuit such as Rockingham, where each corner leads directly into another. And so if you do get yourselves involved in a dice, you're likely to lose quite a bit of momentum and therefore time to the cars around you. Like that was Robert Taylor making a move on the inside of Mark White. Yes, he does. And Mark White in car number 65 has to give way. So BMW moves ahead. Can Mark come back at him though? Knocked down into Yentwood, he can't. The first of these two tricky 90-degree right-handers. The second one actually goes beyond 90 degrees because you have the 90-degree apex here at Chapman, and then it just keeps on going before you flick it back through the left-right to pit path, which is where we know Will Ashmore is quick. And for the 3rd lap out of 3, he dives up the inside of Ian Fletcher. Only this time he tries to bully his way to the apex first, which he does, and he takes over 2nd place. So finally Will Ashmore is back where he started in 2nd position, but Ian Fletcher will try and come back at him if at all possible. Let's see how close they are as they come out of Gracelands for the 3rd time. Nose to tail is the answer, and being caught, I would say, slightly by Robert Taylor in the BMW behind. Down onto the brakes into the Tarzan hairpin. Back out they go behind the paddock, behind the race school, down the school straight, so named because it goes behind the race school, but also because it's the start-finish line that is used for the race school here, and various other layouts of the Rockingham Speedway that are available to be used. We're using the International Super Sports Car long configuration, the longest possible configuration for racing here at Rockingham Motor Speedway. The Speed Bowl of the Midlands, and they're just starting to pair off slightly now. It looks as though Mark White is the man really starting to struggle for pace, but then he did qualify 6th and had a good start, and so whilst it's always pleasant to get a good start and gain loads of places off the line, you're then guaranteed near enough to spend the rest of your race defending from cars that were quicker than you in qualifying, and that is the case here. The Caterham of Ed Fuller qualified ahead of Mark White, not by very much. They shared the 3rd row together, but it is the Caterham that possibly is a little better suited to the tight technical infield section here. He dives to the inside late into Yentwood. There's no way through there for Ed Fuller, and so he has to settle back into line. Back through Chapman they go. Winners so far this year, I mentioned that Will Ashmore had won both of the races at Silverstone last time out. Well, Chris Slater was a winner at Alton Park, and so too was Mark White. Chris Slater is here this weekend in the Peugeot 306, but running a little bit further down the order, qualified only 9th in the Alton Park race winner. But Chris Slater is still up there in the top 5 in the championship arriving at Rockingham, so he could rather do with working his way a little bit further up the order. See if we can We'll check in with him in a moment. Here, though, comes a potential move for Ed Fuller up the inside of Mark White into Tarzan. The Caterham should be later on the brakes, but it takes it nerve to come from that far back, and I think that Ed decided that maybe it was better just to live to fight another day and not take too big a risk at this relatively early stage of the race. We're not quite halfway through this one yet. 18 minutes plus 1 lap of the races in the Armed Forces Race Challenge, run by the 750 Motor Club in 2018. They've run with for several seasons now, on and off. Suits the friendly camaraderie of the paddock in the Armed Forces Race Challenge. Whenever you get a group of drivers who have experienced the things that these drivers have, and teams that have experienced the things these teams have, there's always going to be a great sense of friendship between them all. Essentially, they're fierce competitors out on the circuit, but when they're back in the paddock, sat around barbecues on a nice sunny summer's evening, not that we've had one of those this weekend at Rockingham, but if ever that opportunity does arise, they are very good friends and a lot of respect for each other on and off the track. So back through Yentwood and Chapman they go again. Still nothing to choose. You can see the registration number on the Caterham 7 of Ed Fuller. That Caterham is road legal, and I believe you may actually drive it to and from the circuit. I know a lot of Caterham owners tend to do that. There will be other cars on this grid that are potentially race legal as well, but Caterham the most obvious. Back out of Kirby, it is very close between these two. One car pulled off to the side of the road there, unfortunately. That is not making it any further, and that I believe might be Ben Grundy's Ford Fiesta Mark IV, which pulled off on the second lap of the race. He so far is the only non-runner. Simon Barlow was a non-starter in his MGZR. Unfortunately, he was due to line up at the back of the grid but had mechanical issues in qualifying. His battle still raging on though, and Ed Fuller again is alongside Mark White, and he might have done it this time. Yes, nicely done. Got the traction coming out of the corner. Rear-wheel drive versus front-wheel drive, of course, and the Caterham significantly lighter than the Civic, but of course the Civic has the road presence to just bully its way back alongside through the chicane. They run wheel to wheel through all three elements of the Brook chicane, which is something many professional racing drivers would struggle to do without making contact. But again, plenty of respect shown. The Caterham hangs on to the position, put full marks to Mark White there for not giving in. He's going to try and come back at Fuller if he can through the banking at turn 1. Possibly the Civic a bit quicker in a straight line, and that's what he's trying to use now to get to the inside down towards the Dean hairpin. Great racing between these two. He's later on the brakes than the Caterham as well, and as long as he stops the car for the apex, he might just be able to get his way back through. He does get it stopped, runs a little wide though, so here comes Fuller right back at him, side by side again out of the corner, but this time Fuller's on the outside line, and I think that Mark White might finally have made that one stick. But that was a brilliant sequence of nearly half a lap's worth of side by side racing. They're not quite done yet though, because Ed Fuller, we know, is quick through this next sequence of corners, because this is where he started to build the challenge a lap ago. So brilliant stuff there. Lots of curb being used by Mark White as he came through the Piff Paff chicane. That camera shot there showing one of the joys of the Rockingham Motor Speedway from a spectator's point of view. You sit in the grandstand, you can see every single inch of a circuit. It always produces good racing because there are so many corners that lead directly into another, and so if you go for a move and it doesn't work, or if you're defending from someone, it really affects the rhythm of your race. Check in further back on car number 1. That is Paul Waterhouse, who has been on the podium once this year back at Alton Park. Paul Waterhouse, another driver who potentially, with a bit more consistency, could have been a championship contender this year. He makes his way back around onto another lap as the race leader comes through to start lapping back markers already. And is Mark Inman leading the way. The fight for second is still raging, and this fight for fifth is very much still raging. Mark White is still in front, but here comes the Caterham of Ed Fuller right back at him. Now, we said a lap ago that it was the Civic that seemed to have the edge in a straight line. Can the Caterham draw back alongside this time? We'll find out in a moment though, because for now we ride on board with the second place man, Will Ashmore, as he works his way through that double apex left-hander at the Dean hairpin and then runs down into Yentwood, back marker in front. That's one of the many Fiestas out on the grid. Try and catch a glimpse of the number as we go through. 62 that was, wasn't it, of Daniel Smith. His Ford Fiesta, running in Class C. Safely negotiates the slower car. Daniel Smith running within the RAF class of the championship. The championship split into several different classes for the various different areas of the armed forces. So the Army, the Royal Navy and Marines, vets, the RAF, all have their own classes to race amongst as well, and their own point system and their own championship standings as well to look at the end of the year. And there is also a teams championship for the various elements of the armed forces. The veterans at the moment, I can tell you, are leading that over the Army, the RAF. So again, it's one of those just quirky, different championships in the UK, and to my knowledge there isn't another country out there that has a sanctioned championship such as this one. It's great to see so many teams and drivers getting behind it now, as well as it starts to find a firmer footing within the motorsport community in the UK. So this battle between Civic and Caterham still raging on, neither of them making friends with the apex town at Kirby, but by taking that wide line you are at least able to straighten the wheel up a bit earlier and sort of get out of the corner a bit quicker, I suppose, but it's not textbook driving. Nonetheless, we're getting deep into this race now. We are into the second half of the race, and a few of the drivers maybe just starting to make a few mistakes under pressure. Here comes Fuller up the inside. Is he a bit more committed on the brakes this time? Sort of hovers down the inside line, but not enough to really command the corner for his own, so he stays in line. They're about to put a lap on the Mark 1 Escort of Chris Tanser. I thought we'd lost Ed Fuller for a moment there, so close was he tucked behind the Civic of Mark White. Of course, that very, very small shape of the Caterham 7 hiding quite stealthily behind the Civic. I'm fairly sure Mark White knew he was there, though. He will be very aware of the pressure that he's under at the moment. On the road, I can tell you, it's still Mark Inman leading the way from Will Ashmore in second. Will, in turn, is getting away slightly now from that third place battle between Ian Fletcher and Robert Taylor, excuse me. They are circulating less than a second apart, though, so battles right the way down the order. We've been following this titanic battle for 5th place, which is just spaced out again slightly now into the Dean Hairpin, but then Mark White outbrakes himself, runs wide, gets back to the second apex, which is okay as long as the car behind you hasn't slipped up the inside already, in which case you turn straight into them, but thankfully for Mark, Ed Fuller wasn't quite close enough to do that on that occasion. So still it is the Civic that hangs on to 5th position. Back through the pith path again, lots of curb being used there, and then avoid that recticel barrier on the inside through the right hand kick, which won't do too much damage to your car, but it can still tear a bumper off if you catch it at those sort of speeds. Back over the dotted white lines that denote the transition from the Supersports car long circuit to the traditional Supersports car circuit that's used for things like the British Touring Car Championship. Oh, very, very close indeed there through Gracelands, and here we go again. Fuller always carries good speed out of that left-hander, but he's never quite close enough or quite late enough on the brakes to get up the inside through Tarzan. He gets a much better exit though than Mark White, and I think he's made that one stick before they get anywhere near the Brook chicane, so good move made there. Back with our front runners, and this is the fight for second that's almost developing now. Ian Fletcher closing in on Will Ashmore. He's back away now from Robert Taylor the BMW Compact, so as he's not been under as much pressure from the car behind, so he's been able to focus out in front of him more than looking in his mirrors, and a very, very wide line there by Ashmore, but an even wider line by Fletcher, so in the end not much gained, but that rear-wheel drive Fletcher Hornet Mark IV does look a little bit quicker at this stage of the race. Maybe the rear-wheel drive car just looking after its tyres a bit better. It is, I think, better suited to the technical challenges of the infield. Here you can see that Ashmore's car is not looking particularly comfortable to drive, and therefore not quite as quick. They're not a million miles further back from the race leader Mark Inman at this stage either, so Inman being kept reasonably honest, and as he starts to get into the traffic he will be aware certainly that these two are not a million miles back. Trip up over a back marker, and all of a sudden they'll be breathing down his neck, so he's got to keep pushing. Fletcher's certainly pushing though as he tries to get up the inside of Ashmore into Gracelands. Can't do it on the way in. What about on the way out? Down towards Tarzan. That car is good on their brakes. He goes for a real late lunge up the inside, and Ian Fletcher is about to go through into second place, or is he? Ashmore tries to fight back, gets the power down on the wide sweeping line out of the corner, and then commands the inside line down the school straight. So Ashmore back in front, moves over to cover again in the braking zone into the chicane, trying to avoid those big sausage curbs though that can do a fair bit of damage to your car if you're not too careful. So Ian Fletcher looking like one of the raciest drivers out there in this one, really keen to try and find a way through if at all possible. So couple of minutes left on the clock, plus that one extra lap, of course. So we've still got maybe 2 or 3 laps left in this one. And still, second place could go one of 2 ways. Back down into the Dean hairpin they go, and Ashmore smartly defends the inside line. Now there's a back marker about to get in the mix here. This could change things around slightly. That is Thomas Sykes, I believe, in the BMW, and Fletcher takes full advantage. Look at that, goes around the outside of Ashmore and goes right round the outside of Yenwood. Brilliant move that was by Ian Fletcher, and he is into second position. So can Ashmore fight back though? This is where Ashmore is quick. Remember, he passed Fletcher down here a little bit earlier on in the race. He takes a lot of curb though that time through the Piff-Paff chicane, and Fletcher is wise to the move, so he defends the inside line, but then runs a bit wide as a result. Can't get either apex, but still gets a good squirt out of the corner. Someone kicks up the dust further up the road, but that was perfectly read situation there by Ian Fletcher. Saw that Ashmore might have gone the wrong way as he was trying to get past the back marker, and indeed that seemed to be the case. The Mini of Simon Skirton is the next car to go a lap down to these two. He's already gone a lap down to the leader. Simon Skirton started 14th, that's roughly where he's running now, maybe a place or 2 higher, with a couple that have run into difficulties. Ian Fletcher is getting away now from Ashmore, although he gets a bit balked there by the Mini, which wasn't necessarily quite as aware of what was going on in his mirrors as Ian Fletcher would have liked. Simon Skirton with his own race to run, novice cross on the back of his car as well, telling us that he's reasonably inexperienced racer. Last lap board goes out though to Mark Inman. Vauxhall VX220 driver is looking good for his first victory of the season. In fact, it will improve upon his previous best finish of 6th back at Alton Park. So this is a much improved performance from Mark Inman, and it will put him well and truly up there in the championship now as well. So he heads down into Yenwood for the final time. Nothing but traffic to worry about over the final lap, but as we've just seen, traffic can have a part to play in the way these races pan out. Through the right-hander there at Chapman, back through the Piff-Paff section, and then into the double apex right-hander at Kirby. They're about another lap on the number 62 Ford Fiesta of Daniel Smith, which he does so now. Nicely done on the inside there into Gracelands. It's been a faultless performance this from Mark Inman. Started on pole, was never really headed, it has to be said, by the cars behind, and he's about to bring it home a race winner. Looks like Ian Fletcher has seen off the challenge of Will Ashmore for second place as well. There you can see him in the background in the yellow Fletcher Hornet. But into the final chicane for the final time, Mark Inman, and it's going to be the perfect way to start the weekend. Can he make it the double in race number 2? Well, we'll find out a bit later on. But Mark Inman comes out of the final turn, sees the checkered flag, and takes his first victory of 2018. A great measured drive from the Vauxhall VX220 driver, and he takes the race win. Brilliant drive from Mark Inman, and he will be looking to double up later on. Certainly so far, it doesn't look like many people have got the pace to challenge him. So, race victory for Inman. And second place, we're hearing across the line, was Will Ashmore by several seconds actually over Ian Fletcher. Here's confirmation. Look, it's Inman from Ashmore from Fletcher, so I don't know what happened there. Robert Taylor 4th from Ed Full at 5th, then it's Mark White, Ed McKean, Darren Howe, Chris Slater and Paul Waterhouse rounds out the top 10, ahead of Simon Frowen and Simon Skirton 11th and 12th, Thomas Sykes 13th, then John Mitchell, Daniel Smith and Chris Dancer. We lost Ben Grundy, and Simon Barlow was a non-starter.
Well, Mark, frantic race. I thought Ian had you at the start, but you've got a great straight line speed.
Yeah, it's I got a good start, although it did wheel spin a bit first. It's slippier than it is on other tracks, and I knew I had to keep him behind while I got some heat in the tyres. Thankfully did, and then he got in a battle with Will, which held them both up and gave me that chance to get a bit of a gap.
Yeah, it's a nice combination of fast sections, especially on the oval, and then you go into that tight twisting technical section in the middle. It's quite a contrast.
Yeah, we've come from Silverstone last time, Silverstone National, which is a triangle of straights, so corners is where my car lives, so I was looking forward to coming here. I like this circuit as well, and that's it. I put it on pole and then drove from the front to the win. So,
well done there. For now, go and enjoy it.
Thank you very much.
Ian, what a start, first of all. The car's not quite got the straight line speed, hitting the rev limits all the way down the back straight.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, with the gearing with it, I can't get the gearing any better really. Yeah, so I just have to live with it. It's about, because this is sort of, the classes are based on like a power to weight. I've just got 119 brake horsepower, but I don't weigh much either. So yeah, I suffer a little bit on the straights, but it picks it back up generally through the corners.
Because it's very light, what's it like through the corners? It looks like it's on skates.
Yeah, it is. It's great as long as it's not wet. it adds really good through the corners.
And a great field behind you as well.
Yeah.
Well, for now, you're smiling. Go and enjoy it. Well done.
Okay, thanks very much.
Well, Frantic Race is a great track to race on. It's a great thing to be involved with.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a very frantic race between me and Billy, at least. Just got a bit of a poor start off the line, which meant Mark was gone. He's got a real good car off the line. But otherwise, we're normally pretty well matched. But yeah, between me and Billy, we're battling throughout. Good few overtakes. I was having a few oil starvation issues around the bank, which meant an engine was cutting out, so he'd catch me by turn 2, and then we'd have a good battle through the infield. And I was also trying to show off jumping the sausage curbs, trying to get that photo on 2 wheels, but in a result that was bending a steering arm, so not a great result from that, so I've got to fix that before the next race.
What can you do about the oil starvation?
The sump is baffled anyway to stop the oil sort of flowing away from the pickup, so it should be stopping that. Maybe I need to put in a bigger flow oil pump, I'm not too sure, but something I certainly need to look at.
Yeah, well, we can't wait to see what happens in race 2, but for now, go and enjoy 3rd place. Well done.
Yeah, thanks so much. Cheers.
To Rockingham, where race number 2 of the weekend of the Armed Forces Race Challenge is about to get underway. The cars lining up on the grid ahead of their 2nd race of the weekend, so it is going to be another very busy grid. There you can see it, with pole position going the way of Mark Inman, our race 1 winner, Robert Taylor alongside him, then Will Ashmore and Ian Fletcher, Mark White and Ed Fuller, and Ed McKean and Chris Slater round out the top 8. It's the 2nd fastest lap times from qualifying inside the grid for this one, so there is a bit of a shuffle as the 5-second board is flown. Watch the yellow Fletcher Horner to Ian Fletcher from the inside of row number 2. He made a demon getaway in race 1. Can he do the same sort of thing in race 2? The lights go out. The answer is, well, sort of, but it's the caterum actually, isn't it, of Ed Fuller that got the best drive. A terrible start from Rob Taylor from the inside of row number 1, and he slips backwards. Everyone is away though, and charging down now towards the first corner. Good to see Simon Barlow out there after mechanical dramas meant that he was a non-starter in race 1, and it is going to be Inman that leads the way. Fletcher into 2nd position. Oh, and Inman goes off! Oh, Mark Inman off wide onto the grass at the Dean hairpin. It is so easily done, and not only does he lose the lead, he drops down to 3rd, maybe 4th position as they head down towards Yentwood for the first time. What a disaster for Mark Inman. It looked as though he'd done everything right there to set himself up for a nice, easy, quiet Sunday afternoon drive to a victory. And all of a sudden, things change dramatically. He's got some real work to do now. Hopefully the car isn't too badly damaged. It shouldn't be. Ian Fletcher, therefore, takes over the race victory. But for how much longer? Because here comes Will Ashmore up the inside line. And just as he did in race 1, he makes the move stick down into Kirby. That seems to be Fletcher's weak point. He's closing back in, though, as they head back towards Gracelands for the first time. Ashmore leads the way. Fletcher up the inside line, though, takes a much tighter line into the turn. Has to try and carry good speed out of the corner, and he's good on the brakes, remember, down into Tarzan. So Will Ashmore will remember that from their race 1 duel even, and defend the inside line, which he does. He eases Fletcher out onto the marbles. That's why he's fighting with the wheel so much on the dirty side of the road. We've got the BMW back to 3rd now, Robert Taylor, and 4th place equal at the moment, Ed Fuller and our race 1 winner Mark Ashman. But Ashman on the inside line will go 4th on the brakes into the chicane, ahead of Fuller and Mark White in 6th. The top 5 breaking away already. Will Ashmore, double winner from Silverstone, podium finisher in the previous race, and wasn't on the podium, and didn't race with us, I believe. They did race with us at Silverstone, did Ashmore. Took, Park, I think, on the first rounds of the season. Will Ashmore, he's only had those 2 podiums, which were his 2 race victories, but he's in the lead now. Here comes the battle for second place going on, and it's Fletcher fighting off all comers here, really. Got the BMW compact car of Rob Taylor, dragging around the outside of him, the Vauxhall VX220 of Mark Inman. Has he got the inside line into Yen? He's thinking, oh, there's contact between the 2 of them. Inman's over the curb. This is how much more difficult it becomes when you're mired back in the midfield, not even the midfield, just outside the top 2 or 3, because it's very, very close quarter stuff. As we saw throughout race 1, they never really separated that much in the fight for second on back. And this time around, Inman is a part of it rather than pulling away out in front. Again, Ian Fletcher seems to struggle a bit going into curb. He manages to fend off Rob Taylor for the time being, and Inman now looking to the inside of the BMW in towards Gracelands. Can't do it there though. Brilliant racing though this is, and as unlucky it was for Mark Inman to find himself off the road on the first lap, it has gifted us a real race now, because he's not having to do all his own way. They all know how quick he is, and if they just stop and wave him through, he's going to run away with another race victory. Goes around the outside though of the BMW there of Rob Taylor, made that look very easy, and Taylor was very slow on the apex, and so alongside him also now comes Ed Fuller on the run down in towards the chicane, and the Caterham, you'd imagine, will be later on the brakes, or are they going to run side by side? They're going to try it, and actually the BMW stays in front, so great driving there from Robert Taylor, although we have seen that Ed Fuller hasn't necessarily been quite as brave on the brakes as he could have been in that lightweight Caterham this weekend, just struggling maybe to gain the full confidence in the braking capabilities of that car. So back on board with Fletcher car in second place, Ian Fletcher. He's now got our race 1 winner Mark Inman. Well, I was about to say breathing down his neck, actually ahead of him. Look at that, nice move there, and that was just sheer horsepower, I think, for the VX220. We heard Anthony commenting to Mark in his post-race interview after race 1 that the car is very quick in a straight line, arguably the quickest out there in a straight line, and it proved it there to drive past the far from sluggish Fletcher Hornet Mark 4 of Ian Fletcher, which is demoted down to 3rd place now. He once more will do battle with Robert Taylor and Ed Fuller, as he did for a portion of the previous race. But of course, it was really Will Ashmore that Fletcher spent most of his time racing in race 1. Oh, big lock up there for the BMW of Taylor. Down into Kirby. He's got to be careful doing that. Not only can you risk running off the track, which of course is not going to be beneficial for getting a good result, but you can flat spot a tyre very easily, and then every time you go to hit the brakes, it will find the flat spotted part of the tyre, and you'll lock up more and more and do more damage to the tyre until eventually it delaminates completely. Smoke possibly there coming from the back of the race leader's car, I thought. Will Ashmore as it went through Gracelands. We'll have to wait and see whether that manifests itself into a greater problem. He's certainly got a bit of a problem on his hands now, because Mark Inman, in the space of a lap, has gapped Ian Fletcher and has caught the race leader. Fletcher there in 3rd, then the BMW of Taylor, then the Caterham of Fuller. These top 5 cars are still running in fairly close proximity, but you would imagine that Mark Inman, based on the pace that he showed in race 1, is probably going to be able to get through to the race lead. But then Will Ashmore showed how feisty he was in race 1. Never backwards and coming forwards, and if you can hold on to the lead, he will, and even if he loses it, he'll surely try and fight back whenever possible. Well, here's another battle going on a bit further down the order. That's John Mitchell in the Renault Clio, and the 33 car is Simon Frowen in his Ford Fiesta XR2i, even easy for me to say. And these two battling outside the top 10, about 13th and 14th these two are at the moment. I beg pardon, it's Daniel Smith, excuse me. There are 2 very similar livery cars. One is Daniel Smith's Fiesta, and the other one is the 33 car of Simon Frowen, but that is Daniel Smith that is fighting away here with the Renault Clio. Will be as soon as he gets to him. These 2 cars, of course, not as quick as the cars that we're seeing racing at the very front of the field, but they've got a class of their own to compete in. This for the race lead, though, and Will Ashmore defending heavily now from Mark Inman, as I thought he would. I didn't think he was just going to roll over and let the Vauxhall go, but there might be a gap up the inside into Yenwood. No, the Civic has it covered. Will that mean that he runs wide on the exit? Yes, he does, and the rear-wheel drive Vauxhall. Oh, well, a bit too much rear-wheel drive there. He tried to get the over-under and use that rear-wheel drive traction, and rather ran out of traction, actually. A bit over-eager with the right foot there, and so Ashmore hangs on again. This is part of the circuit where Ashmore's been fairly quick all weekend weekend long, not afraid to hammer the curbs through Kirby. Snatches a break though, runs out wide, and well, Inman's definitely quicker and he's making fewer mistakes at this stage. I know he made the mistake on the first lap that put him back in the pack in the first place, but ever since then it's been an imperious drive from Mark Inman to carve his way back through the field. But can he find a way through into the race lead? There's one more position he needs to gain, and it's going to be the hardest one to gain, I think. They go past Simon Barlow's MG, which stays dutifully out of the way. There is definitely just a wisp of smoke coming from the rear end of that Civic, but I'm hoping it's nothing too much to worry about. It could just be tyre smoke, to be honest, either tyre rubbing on bodywork or sliding across the ground, but he's certainly pushing hard. It doesn't seem to be doing it in a straight line, does it? Which is what makes me think maybe it's tyres fouling against the rear wheel arches, perhaps. But the Honda Civic, the VTI, looks good, sounds good, and he's going pretty good at the moment, isn't it? Leading the race onto another lap. Now, what's the straight line speed performance like, though? Because that Vauxhall will close in, you would imagine, down towards Dean and Paul Waterhouse here in his Peugeot 306 GTI. You see inside, pretty standard there. It's still got the radio, still got the air conditioning unit in. All the dials that you'd see on a road car, they are standard production cars, these cars. Safety modifications, of course. You can see the roll cage added in there, as it has to be to race on a racetrack in the UK. So this battle for the lead very much still raging. Oh, and Ashmore sideways there as he throws it into Chapman Curve. Inman, though, although he's got close, hasn't really been able to mount a serious challenge yet. This fight for third is still going on between Ian Fletcher, Robert Taylor and Ed Fuller, and Taylor again locking up, and I think that's because he has flat spotted that front left tyre, as I suggested might have been the case a bit earlier on, and now every time he breaks into that corner he's catching that front left tyre. Have to manage that as the race goes on. There's that smoke again from the back of Ashmore's car, and Inman maybe sensing blood in the water, thinks about going up the inside into Tarzan. Just didn't quite get there before Ashmore got the move covered. Now here are two slightly different cars. We've got the BMW 330 attacking the very wayward Ford Escort Mark 1, and it's Chris Dancer who goes off in the Escort, rejoins and hands the place over to Thomas Sykes, but they were two cars with some 40 years between them, battling as close as you like, until the Escort, unfortunately, perhaps showing its age, ran out of brakes rather down into the Dean hairpin. Very easy to do that down there. You arrive at such high speed, needless to say it's the fastest part of the circuit on the approach to Dean, and because it's such a wide circuit there are no real reference points there. It's very easy to outbrake yourself. Well, Ashmore can't afford to outbrake himself because one mistake and Mark Inman will be through, and he's alongside now as they head down towards Tarzan. The outside line on the way in. Now does he go right round the outside? He's going to try it. This is getting brave here, but this might just work. He'll have better traction off the corner from the rear-wheel drive Vauxhall. Can Ashman get over to defend though? No, not quite. They are side by side down towards the the Brook chicane, and I think that Inman might just make this one stick. He's got the inside line, and in fairness to Will Ashmore, he knew when he was beat, and he lets him go, but he's going to try and come straight back at him though as they come out onto the banking. That might be his last chance to do so then, because that Vauxhall, we know he's quick in a straight line, and I reckon that Mark Inman might just be able to pull away. Ian Fletcher has got a grandstand view of this fight for the race lead as they come out onto the pit straight, and Fletcher will be hoping that they keep on falling over each other, because it looks like his lap time's been pretty good of late. He's been taking advantage of their battling to actually close in slightly on the leading two. Now that Inman is in front though, it may well be that that is as close as he gets, but Ashmore is not giving in. It's a bit deep on the brakes though into Dean, and that won't help his cause. Down into Yentwood, there you go, and time ticking on in this race as well. We're well into the second half now, and is that going to be the move that makes it stick for Mark Inman? Can Will Ashmore come back at him? Well, of course, might end up focusing more on his mirrors than out of his windscreen if Ian Fletcher gets any closer, because we know Fletcher's car is fairly rapid as well around here. And don't forget that he's bringing along with him Robert Taylor, who's dropped Ed Fuller now slightly. There's a big old gap back to Mark White, so Mark White has really lost some time somewhere in this race. The driver who has won the race this year, but is not going to do so here at Rockingham. Mini about to go another lap down. That's Simon Skirton in car 56. It looks as though Mark Inman is starting to make good his escape now at the head of the field, back with Ian Fletcher, and yes, he's definitely catching Will Ashmore. He's a bit closer now, I'd say, than he was at the start of that. They'll both want to get up the inside of Skirton's Mini cleanly into the rush game, which they do, but Ashmore again just runs a bit wide. So too, though, was Fletcher, because he went in on a tight line to get past the back marker, and that compromised his line through the corner. Not too much though, he'll get off the corner fairly rapidly. There is the number 33 car, which is Simon Frowen, who goes from the inside. Oh no, and there's contact with Thomas Sykes. Sykes actually did really well to save that, because that BMW was rear-wheel drive, and rear-wheel drive cars are notoriously difficult to save when they receive a bit of contact like that. But is that game over maybe for Simon Frowen, whose car has stopped right on the apex of the Dean hairpin, but it still appears to be running. But his line of sight will be obscured by that tyre wall. He doesn't know when there's a big pack of cars coming. He daren't select reverse gear and try and carry on for fear that he ends up getting sort of wiped out by another car coming through. So he may well be stuck there for some time. Looks as though Tom Sykes has been able to continue with no real damage in his BMW 330. He's been caught again slightly now by the recovering Chris Dancer. He'll be looking to try and resume their battle they were having earlier on. As they turn through Graceland, the BMW not quite as quick through there as the Escort was. And down into the Tarzan hairpin they go. And we're hearing that Frowen's car is still stuck at the Teen hairpin, and that may require a safety car. Possibly even actually a red flag, because we are getting towards the end of the race now, so maybe they decide to call this one early. That would be good news for Mark Inman, because he is very eager to see the checkered flag. I'm sure the race leader, he's not far behind these two actually, about to put a lap on them, both of whom have had their dramas. Back out of the final corner, up onto the banking, and onto another lap. Mark Inman, as I said, not that far behind. The starting gantry they go, and yes, there we go, red flag. Red flag is thrown, understandably, with the car stopped in a dangerous position. There it is, and Simon Frowen has decided to abandon ship. He's getting out of the car. Didn't much fancy sitting broadside across the middle of the road. I can't say I blame him either. So that is the race done. So, confirmation of the result there. Mark Inman takes the victory from Will Ashmore in second, and Ian Fletcher in third. A great race between all three of them, though. Robert Taylor was fourth, and Ed Fuller in fifth. Mark White a distant sixth, ahead of Ed McKean, Darren Howe, Chris Slater, and Paul Waterhouse. Then it's Tom Sykes, Chris Dancer, Simon Skirton, John Mitchell, Daniel Smith, and Simon Barlow. We lost Simon Frowen, and Ben Grundy was a non-starter.
Well, Mark, firstly, congratulations on the win, but you made hard work out of that.
Yeah, I say it went straight on at turn 2 and dropped back to 4, so I knew I had some work to do, which in an 18 minute plus 1 lap race is hard work. Thankfully got past a couple quite quickly, and then it was just me and Will Ashmore.
That VX220 seems to like the infield section more than it does the out section.
Yeah, I mean it's built for corners, so as soon as you get me in the corners, I'm going as quick as I can.
It looks a right hoot out there, driving with all your comrades. What's it like from your perspective?
It's great fun, and there's a great atmosphere in the paddock. Obviously, we're all camped close together, so there's a fair bit of banter and rivalry between the forces, but that just makes it more fun.
So it's important to win out on track?
Yeah, well, I'm a veteran, but former Royal Marine, and there is no Navy or Royal Marines here, so I'm sort of representing them. Thankfully, did them proud.
Well done.
Thank you very much.
Well, Will, firstly, congratulations on the second place. You tried your best to keep Mark behind you, but you couldn't hold him off.
Yeah, when I saw Mark go off at turn 1, I saw my chance. I knew I had to get some solid laps in at the start just to try and create a gap. But within pretty short order, he was up my chuff. I put up a pretty hard stand for as long as I could. At the end of the day, he was the quicker driver, and I couldn't hold him off for the whole race.
Yeah, it looked like great fun out there. What are your thoughts on the Rockingham circuit with the fast section followed by the twisty, tricky in section?
Yeah, I've always enjoyed Rockingham. I like that it's an anti-clockwise layout, which is a bit different for us. The bank's always good fun, but it always brings out a lot of issues with my car, this circuit. I always have a few woes, but I managed to sort out the issues from race 1 for the race 2. Clearly, I'm here, so that was a bonus. But I really enjoy it, and I enjoy jumping those curbs.
All right, well, for now, go and enjoy it. Well done.
Yeah, thanks so much. Cheers.
Hey, Ian, great start. Obviously, you led for a couple of laps after Mark went off. It's a shame the red flag came out. You were hanging on. Anything could have happened.
Yeah, a really good race. I knew from the first race that they would struggle in the last couple of laps, as they had done in the first race. So I was just wanted to keep in touch with them, bide my time, and then make my move. But unfortunately, the last couple of laps never arrived. You know, the red flags came out first.
Did you notice them in front struggling?
Oh yeah, they were having a hell of a battle. I was just wondering where Neil was going to get past Will. And he did it on the little wiggly bit, whatever it's called, before the oval.
Yeah. Well, well done on third place. Go and enjoy it.